I told myself that this challenge would be an excellent excuse to try something new. To try something that I had never done before. I started playing this game after the enhanced update and thus have never experienced the classic mode that defined pretty much the game's entire lifespan. So when I was given a suggestion by a viewer to complete a challenge run using only crossbows, I knew I had to play with this setting because it reflected a time when they were known to be much shittier. I was not only going in blind on a mode I was unfamiliar with, I was inclining myself to hate it from the start. But of course, because I hate myself too, and the value of my time, I had to step it up further by limiting myself to the worst of the crossbow crop. So let me give a brief rundown on what that entails for the run. Charms cannot be equipped with crossbows, and buff consumables don't affect them either. Creeds that give reusable weapon buffs are going to be less palatable for that reason. So I settled on the stone roots. It has an atrocious healing item, but it would give me infinite access to all 3 types of bolts in the game. The only real ways I can boost my damage are going to be with raw dexterity leveling, weapon upgrades, and the Bloodflower ring. No charms, no spells. I went into this run, like always, with little research. So maybe there were more ways I could have boosted this heinous setup that I didn't think about, but bleh, more fun this way. Oh yeah, I'm going to allow my fists to be used freely as well, both to help with crawling out of the early game ditch, and because it sets up for a strange stylish backstep technique that crossbows can do after a melee attack. I'll allow that. I think that's everything, so let's begin. I named my character Wimmy Glong for no reason in particular, and I choose the Hunter class for him because it starts with the crossbow I'm going to be using the whole run. I begin by unplugging all my melee weapons, and then immediately die. I join the 3 to start, if only temporarily, and then start beating people to death in the festering banquet with my bare hands. Saves ammo. Learning to aim with this thing ends up taking quite a bit of time, like the whole run. I did a gun-only guy on my own time, and the spread was a lot easier to hit than this. I nab the bandaged ring as always, and then get vivisected with a rusty hatchet. I render him unrecognizable. I relish the ability to level up once again, and then buy a few more bolts before taking the fight to the Sodden Knight. I kinda get a bit ass-blasted here and there while feeling out the safe windows to shoot him, and burn a lot of gold by outright missing him at times. I found myself over and underestimating the crossbow's range a lot, something that you will see throughout the whole video. All in all, I barely scraped by with enough bolts. I'm very thankful that I don't need to punch either him or the whole festering banquet to death till my knuckles are raw. I pick up some random shit to sell around the banquet, grab the Kismet stone, and then break my teeth on the concrete. In the Village of Smiles, I uproot some hair, grab more shit to sell, and then upgrade my crossbow to +2. Those familiar with my formula will know that next up is the Watching Woods, where I loot some more future crossbow bolts and a soldier's poem to upgrade my crossbow again. The Long Arm of the Law apprehends my robbing spree with a ground-to-air missile, so I upgrade it to +3, buy a bunch more bolts, take the Wrapped Link, and then challenge the Queen of Smiles. She proves to be another simple fight, clipping me when I choose a bad time to shoot. I did get this weird second half of the battle where she just kinda spent the whole time slowly sauntering at me, which made it easier than it already was. On my way to sell more shit, I realized that, well damn. I sell it all to buy more bolts, and then invade the Mad Alchemist's gay little treehouse to stop him from concocting the blobs. The extremely low damage output makes this probably the most dangerous fight I've ever had with this boss. I tried to stay up on the rafters to avoid the slimes and only cross sides when he threw purple scythe bombs. It was also quite hard to aim though from the other side of the arena. I get shooed away by a number of natural disasters, culminating in an extremely unfortunate death. After a bit of farming and antidote purchasing, which meant running back through the whole woods again, I thankfully put a stop to his meth operation on the second try. In Sunken Keep, I steal more shit, turn it into ammunition, and stalk the land in search of the first clown to unload all of it into. I'm actually gonna let this whole fight play out really fast so I can buy some time to discuss a few more random things about the run. I scarcely show it, but the majority of my level investment just goes into raw dexterity, a sprinkle of willpower, and a fair bit of endurance. I haven't joined the Stone Roots yet because I was waiting for access to crystal spheres to convert my important sanctuaries immediately. Flame and poison bolts cost more than double normal bolts, so even if less efficient, I end up mostly using normal ones anyway. Lastly, being able to actually survive attacks on this run, even if my damage was worse by comparison, made this easier than the SL1 run for sure. I grabbed the Vertigo brand, killed this guy for a massive gold profit, and then nearly have that same bullshit from the last run happen to me again. I joined the Stone Roots and then garped these little bastards using a crystal sphere. This electric trap in the Castle of Storms gives me an infinite way to get gold for bolts easy. And on my way up to the sanctuary, I hop into the KFC fryer like a little rat. I grab the soldier's poems and, the Impencrest ring. Follow it up with the Mending Band. Buy some bolts and upgrade my crossbow in preparation of glorious battle, and then charge into the fight with the Kraken Worm. I put out a teaser for this video that was just the highly sped up raw footage for this battle. It was a fucking ordeal. Over 6 minutes of combat. Thankfully this guy is the size of a small bus, so I can just kinda shoot in his general direction and probably hit, which meant I wasn't burning ammo. In the second phase, I kept accidentally shooting his ass out of the air when he does his jump slam, which caused him to drop to the floor early and hit me while I was stuck in attack animations. It's a close call in the end, but the gnarly bastard falls first try. I take the Shadow Flip brand and then start leveling up my endurance in preparation of some fancy armor later. I also buy some poison bolts. While trying to grab this gray pearl and sell the Titan armor and shit, I accidentally stumble into an active Looney Tunes set and nearly become a pile of ash with comical blinking eyes. I buy some upgrade materials at the Nomad, pick up another sphere to guard more lowborns with, and then amble first into the Dome of the Forgotten. A single Hornet proves a daunting but necessary opponent, and all of my progress gets immediately overwritten by the first batch of Whispermen. I want to showcase for you just how long killing one cluster of these guys takes, so that when I show you this clip, or even this clip, you understand my numbing pain. After over 20 minutes of failure, I finally make it to the candle and enter the Inquisitor's arena quickly to take the Lord's Order. You're fucking kidding me. I do the fight regardless, since I'm already here, standing far away and pelting him with a barrage of poisonous bolts. This was my first test for them, and they definitely proved effective for taking down bosses. Having the range advantage meant I didn't need to worry about getting caught in his wacky timings. His salt lets me level a shit ton, so I dump into more decks. Yeah, it wasn't until here I realized the Lord's Order wasn't in his boss room in Classic. I introduce myself to the concrete while fighting this specter in the Red Hall, take pride in perfectly sniping these two bots from off screen, steal yet more soldiers' poems just lying around, and narrowly escape Skullfuck City by going the path of the Relentless Ring. The Tree of Men was a bit of a mixed bag for this run. I could technically prey on the caged men from anywhere in the arena, but it was hard to find time to get a shot in with the 14 independent bullshittery timers going off in this room. I eventually and very slowly shoot them all down whilst my blacksmith attire shunts away fire like water off a duck's back, entering the second phase. Then I get slammed to death, and then roasted within an inch of my life and stomped to death. But I come back for revenge on the third attempt. In Hager's Cavern, I show these musty teleporting weebmen what for by interrupting their subpar swordplay with an arrow and then socking them in the gut. I grab the cellar key and then crawl around on the ceiling before slipping on a puddle and breaking my neck, which meant I had to do all of this again. Yep, everything you're watching. I'm always going to force you to sit through a fraction of it too. My endless dealing with this atrocious enemy set across every challenge run. Maybe one day I'll have good damage again. I flip the lever and then board the Husk's vessel. I tried poisoning him for some myopic reason, like I should have expected this, he is literally a puppeted corpse. He forces me to become fairly acquainted with the taste of gunpowder and my own melted face meat. The second attempt, one of those skeletons, all the way back by the sanctuary, follows me into the boss arena and kills me. I eat shit again, buy some flame bolts, and then commit suicide for some reason. Fire is his biggest weakness that I have access to, and after running out of those bolts, I finish the job with some regular ones. I purchase a few upgrade materials, and then upgrade my armor more. I make an unfortunate return to the dome for the third lamb, another boss who I for some reason think is worth my time to try and poison. I probably should have been checking these resistances better throughout the run. This is generally a fight where you don't really want to have range, since the lightning breath attack clears the whole side of the screen it's aimed at and can be extremely finicky to dodge from far away. It's easier to just roll to the lamb's other side. I had put on the golden stone ring just in case though. The same thing with the worm happens, where I shoot the jump attack out of the sky, causing it to hit me, which sets me up for vaporization. On the way back I get shafted by this elevator timing and torn apart by hallucinations. The second attempt goes much better though. The main issue continued to be the way I'd halt the lamb's midair momentum, causing me to get hit earlier than I otherwise would have. None of the attacks do much damage though, and by prioritizing simply crossing sides, I claim victory. It just struck me that none of these fuckers even have names, and I already made the Targrade joke. I use Hardlight to go out back of the dome, duck into this little temple with way more guys in it than I remember, grab the Bloodbrow armor, then I claim the far beach, ride around the world, forget I don't have the Dart brand, and then buy some flame bolts, since it now sinks in that I'm gonna need to fight the Stench Most Foul with a +4 crossbow. Fuck! In the Mire Stench, I mission Impossible the Vile Vines ring for poison resistance, and then enjoy a peaceful session of relaxation with the kind locals. I hate this fucking place so much, and it's entirely the fault of the enemy set. I initially came up here for the red hair charm to sell it, but to my surprise, one of the swordsmen actually dropped a Lord's Order on the first try. Though it means I'll need to go back through the whole mire a second time, I eagerly go back to upgrade the crossbow to +5. Then, with some Grey Pearl shenanigans, I get light armor 4 to wear the Bloodbrow set, which I upgrade. On the way back, I try to just rush past everything and get shown what for. The second time is even more frustrating and drawn out, as I'm slowly picked apart by bugs and filled with more knives than a kitchen drawer. The third time, I miraculously slip by to safety. What the fuck? The damage was honestly better than I was expecting for the Stench Most Foul, but using flame arrows probably played a big role in that. The stench pods would still build up sometimes despite my best efforts to call their numbers, but it wasn't too hard to just kill them. Sometimes when they would overlap, even with the stench itself, the flame arrows would hit both of them at the same time before its hitbox disappeared or whatever, which I will thank for speeding up this noxious fight. I still have my weird automatic jump reflex for this battle that the previous run gave me, even if it wasn't as necessary. I guess the hang time meant it was harder for the summons to close in on me, which helps even if you aren't as brittle as glass. Around the end of the fight, these petulant little nuisances kept eating more shots than presidential bodyguards, but I finally hit my mark. I grab the mossy ring, followed by the redshift brand, and then plunge into the ziggurat of dust. I pull a few levers because I'm naturally drawn to contraptions, and then engage the nefarious skeleton wizard, the Dried King. I want you to guess, please actually guess, how long this fight is. I don't even claim victory on this attempt. My stupid ass gets locked down by the Dried King. I died to the Dried King. It's honestly ridiculous that Mr. John Scott Studios can even get away with this shit. I use this word a lot to describe this fight because it's true. It's monotonous. Typically, if you're gonna give a guy like 3,000 health and obnoxious resistances, you give him more than 3 attacks. He's fucking milquetoast. Offensively bland. Not awful, far from good. But he's like a big skeleton, so I have to laugh. I get the dart brand, which I immediately use to go to the pitch woods. I pick up some more stuff there, open the shortcut so I won't need to deal with the spindle beasts, and then claim the Lord's Orders as a prize. I use them to upgrade the crossbow to +6, and then my armor a bit more. This Aerox beats me at a staring contest, and then I get a little bit fucked up by these enemies down in the lower ziggurat, before having my eyes claimed as a trophy by this meager doll. I let it keep that shit because I ain't dying to an infant a second time, and opened the way to the Bloodless Prince, who for some reason dedicated his entire career to throwing himself face first into the ground and not considering any other options. I saw the belly flop attack more times this single attempt than I had ever seen in this boss prior. The dude is also the size of a mountain, so I didn't really have trouble hitting him, and my armor allowed me to brush off his blows for the most part. Eventually I realized I could do that knockout of air thing to him with a lot more success, outspacing him and getting this strange buggy kill animation. The full might of the United States Army locates me and converges on my position, chasing me deeper into the ruined temple. It's here I finally find and instantly equip the Bloodflower Ring. I place down an alchemist for the magic defense there, buy some flaming arrows, and then instead decide to go confront God in the Clouds directly about why I'm so fucked up. Instead I just find the crib of that bitch, Mal. I clear my way through her halls of horror before fatally missing the final jump. I succeed on the rerun, and then vow that it's finally time to get revenge against Mal for all of our past grievances. She responds accordingly by reducing me into powder using ancient pagan incantations. Luckily for her, I can't stay mad at badass bug women for too long, and simply by not getting immediately killed through telegraphing light balls, I'm now reminded that I actually really like this boss. It helps that she has an extremely low tolerance for lethal poison. Right as I'm about to conclude the fight, she fucking teleports behind me and hits me with an unreactable melee attack I could have totally done something about. So I of course share my 2 cents with a bullet between the eyes. Since it seems we're taking a detour down optional boss alley, I suppose Cran is next on the hit list. I even let the House of Splendor survive this time. Thankfully Cran's singular brain cell is constantly fighting with itself and somehow losing, causing him to spend the entire fight standing still in one place, presenting 0 outward threat. I honestly don't have much to say otherwise. I guess when he did lash out here and there, it'd do a nearly fatal amount of damage, but that didn't happen too often, and a lot of his attacks are very easy to dodge. He'd usually just be because I was shooting that he'd connect them. He does his annoying Artorias flip slam way more times than I've ever seen near the end of this fight though, and it even ends on that note too, which was pretty cool. I take the heart, then the King's Order, perish, and then defeatedly crush some salt boxes underfoot because there's no way I'm going back there. So yeah, that's crossbow to +7. The Coveted is an extremely unfortunate fight for this run. The slash resistance is high and I can't buff my weapon with any kind of arcane damage. For some reason, the boss is susceptible to poison despite nothing in this entire fight being composed of organic matter, but whatever. This is another instance where I must comically ask you to guess how long the victorious attempt of this fight ended up being. But oh, we're not there yet. I literally just got cut in half. The Coveted is unfortunately kind of a one-note encounter. I definitely like it a lot as a fight, but I feel like if I continue to explain the intricacies of it in every video, I'm gonna start sounding like a broken record. The axe is thankfully a fairly big target, so even as it was floating around, it wasn't that hard to hit it with high accuracy. Just staying far away and trying to hit from afar, standing behind the ghost shooting magic bullets, carried me to victory after... oh, well, let's see, the results are in. That much time. I get rudely accosted by police while giving food to the homeless, and then move on to the outside of the temple where I do battle with the Witch of the Lake. Damage proves promising, but that naturally is deceptive. Every second this battle is ongoing is an escalating chance that you will instantly become a shadow burned into the pavement. The first attempt does actually go quite well for a fair while, giving me malicious gleans into a utopian alternate timeline where this didn't take nearly an hour. But unfortunately, I have an irresistible appetite for million-bullet shotgun, and this death was caused by a slight clipping of my toenails, apparently. I eventually try to go armorless for the better roll speed, just to get to the other side of her barrage faster. Now watch as I dodge this orb attack in the worst way possible. This shit just getting blasted into my mouth like a dog drinking from a garden hose. I knew that if I could just get her to the second phase when she adds the other pursuer projectile attack, it would probably actually become easier. She would be less likely to do the bullshit Dork Orb into a massive barrage combo. This is actually exactly what happens, and with enough adrenaline pumping through my veins to kill a bull, I managed to secure the victory by shooting at the apex of her dumbass witch hat. I spend her life savings on more flame arrows to replenish what she took from me, and then it's time for your regularly scheduled "Zas, you forgot to fight the Kraken Cyclops" cleanup session. It's obvious I don't very much like or respect this fight because I always barely remember it exists, and then still hate doing it even when I'm overleveled. I can't even kill him without getting served through the sky like a volleyball. I hate him. Guess it's about time to visit Karstraw. Good thing I went to the Pitchwoods earlier. Shit. Shit. Shit! There. Voila. Wait, why are my bolts doing so much damage to him? Oh no. Oh, I forgot, dude. I'm so sorry, man. I didn't want this to be so easy. I'm sorry. I thought you were stronger. Oh, I guess I forgot to talk to the knight somewhere. Whatever. Karstraw's Salt allows me to finally hit 50 decks. I get kind greetings at the entrance to the Alchemansary, snag their weird paperwork sitting on a floating pillar, notably don't fail this kind of asinine parkour section this time, and then pincushion this mimic for another King's Order. I place a blacksmith down for the area bonus damage, and so he can upgrade my cuirass to +6 and boots to +5. I do the Alchemansary skip to save on time, and because honestly I don't actually know how to get through this area, and then go to fight the Unskinned and Architect. This floating whore and ghoulish meatman are both fairly susceptible to fire and poison, so things were already inclined to go well for this fight. I think it's fair to assume that the Unskinned is immunocompromised. I do everything I can to stay away from the Architect's rings, which is easy to do when you're trying to skewer them with pencils from a distance anyway. I get nearly killed by a light orb near the end of the fight, and quickly shoot down the Unskinned after. And then, when it's down to just the Architect, for some reason the boss theme changes to its other variation.
What?
But yeah, alone she's completely harmless and dies like an idiot loser. In the crypt I upgrade my armor to +7, and then decide to fight one of these guys for the first time ever, and get bodied. I flip the shortcut lever and perform an inconceivably fast acrobatics trick to get to the 3 quickly that none of you know. I've taken a liking to killing the judge first, and her floatiness inclines her to cross the room toward me a lot faster than the other 2 sauntering ghouls recreating Abbey Road on the other side of the arena. I use fire arrows to dispose of a lot of them, since it's what they all have a weakness to. By this point of the run, I basically had an infinite reserve of whatever bolt type I needed for a given situation, so I was less concerned about the cost of it all. The judge falls first, and after that it's just about getting really far away and watching as the king and knight slink very slowly forward until they're in attack range, which gave me a lot of free time to pepper them. Sometimes they would both surround me and lay a few blows in, but it was quite easy to shrug off. I was chipping them both down together, so they both die in quick succession. Another first try fight. I grab a last set of Lord's Orders and do some final armor maintenance. Then take on big old lovable scores. This fight actually kind of goes embarrassingly bad, even if he does go down on the first attempt too. Due to my slower roll, he keeps successfully catching me with a slight backward aim on his Trident Lightning Stake move, and at one point he even pins me against the wall with his lightning breath, preventing me from getting the distance needed to dodge it. Once I get my head out of the fucking dirt and start playing like a real person, scores otherwise proves a rather unremarkable fight, and that just leaves the Nameless God. I'm an annoying person who has a strange amount of respect for the presentation and integrity of this fight. Like, I'll admit that, it's annoying. So I'm gonna keep my words short and then let the music roll. It takes me a bit to get into the rhythm again for this one, seduced by the easy time I was having with the last few bosses and to carelessly getting grabbed and face punched again. But yeah, eventually I just start pacing my shots better and taking my time, which makes the second half of the battle a smidgen cleaner. So yeah, that was Salt and Sanctuary beaten with the worst crossbow in the game. Classic setting turned on. If I learned anything from this run, it's that tedium doesn't necessarily equate to difficulty. I don't mean to say that in a presumptuous way, but I think after this many playthroughs, some of which were challenge runs I found to be even harder than this one, the difficulty has become more about consistency to match the increased length of the encounters more than it is the actual trials that any of the foes present. Maybe I'll try some super zany, fucked up challenge run that would require a completely different understanding of the game and how to play it, like no rolling or something. If you have any suggestions of similar ilk to that, be my guest and leave them below. And here Wimmy is, 8.5 hours later. He's just a silly little guy. Anyway, yeah, feel free to like and subscribe if you'd like or whatever. I'm gonna try to make more content, and I think I'm gonna stop promising Salt and Sacrifice videos. I just, for some reason, haven't found picking it up again to be too enticing. So yeah, maybe I'll keep up the Sanctuary challenges, or maybe I'll try to push out that Dark Souls 2 video I've been talking about for a while. Who knows? Thanks for watching.